Bill Musgrave didn't just voice his opinion. He detonated a bomb inside Cleveland's coaching room when the Browns quarterback coach went public with his criticism of Kevin Stefanski's decision to keep Shedeur Sanders out of first-team reps. It wasn't just a disagreement. It was a direct challenge to the authority of the head coach, an act rarely seen in such stark terms.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Musgrave's assertion that Sanders is not only ready but more capable than Dillon Gabriel lit a fire under a franchise already notorious for dysfunction. His defense wasn't vague. It was detailed, pointed, and clearly grounded in frustration, raising eyebrows across the league about how much faith the Browns truly have in their internal process, or lack thereof. This isn't about one rookie snaps. It's about a system under pressure. Sanders' clear talent and work ethic have collided with a coaching staff seemingly more invested in hierarchy than honest evaluation. Musgrave's rebellion pulled back the curtain on a fractured leadership structure, and it forces the Browns to answer one question. Is this team built on merit or on managing egos? The Cleveland Browns are no strangers to controversy, but this time, it's not a quarterback battle. It's a civil war, and it's all unfolding right on the training field. At the heart of the chaos, rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders, a name that comes with high expectations, elite pedigree, and apparently zero interest from Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski when it comes to first-team reps. Yes, you heard that right. Despite Sanders' standout performance, tireless work ethic, and glowing praise from insiders, the coaching staff has effectively iced him out, and it's not going unnoticed. In fact, it's blown wide open. Quarterbacks coach Bill Musgrave has had enough. In a move that sent shockwaves through the league, Musgrave went public with his frustration, openly criticizing the coaching decisions and vouching hard for Sanders' readiness. This isn't some sideline whisper or closed-door disagreement. This is full-on insubordination, out in the open, and it's turning the Browns' training camp into a pressure cooker of dysfunction. Musgrave's comments weren't vague, either. He didn't leave room for interpretation. He straight-up challenged Stefanski's handling of the QB rotation, drawing a clear line in the sand. Either you're here to develop the best talent, or you're here to protect egos and play favorites. And right now, Stefanski's choices are looking a lot like the latter. While Sanders grinds away with second stringers, Dillon Gabriel, a solid prospect, sure, but nowhere near the same ceiling, is getting prime reps with the ones. The message? Loud and clear. This isn't a meritocracy. It's a hierarchy. And Musgrave isn't alone in thinking that's a problem. Inside the organization, the tension is palpable. Reports from insiders say the coaching staff is split. You got one camp backing Stefanski's conservative, status quo approach, and another pushing for Sanders to get the reps he's clearly earned. That divide is bleeding into every corner of the facility, from the locker room to the film room. It's not just a disagreement. It's a culture crisis. And the fans? They've caught on. Fast. Social media has been a war zone, with Browns fans lobbing takes from every direction. Some are furious that Sanders isn't being given a fair shot. Others are defending Stefanski, saying rookies should earn their stripes. But everyone agrees on one thing. This isn't a good look. When your own QB coach is publicly calling out the head coach, that's not healthy competition. That's dysfunction. The media is fanning the flames too. Analysts like Chris Canny and Mary Kay Cabot are zeroing in on what they're calling organizational favoritism. And it's not hard to see why. Sanders has reportedly outperformed expectations, shown up with professionalism, and done everything right. Yet he's still stuck on the outside looking in. Which begs a question, what's really going on behind closed doors? The whispers aren't just about football anymore. They're about politics, about maintaining control, about Stefanski and his circle doubling down on familiar names and trusted systems instead of opening the door to raw, undeniable talent. It's a move that reeks of insecurity, not strategy. And Musgrave's refusal to stay silent has only intensified the spotlight. His vocal support of Sanders has turned a player development issue into a leadership referendum. If Stefanski won't adapt, what does that say about his ability to grow this team? Is his priority building a winning future, or keeping things predictable? The answer matters. A lot. Because this isn't just about reps in July. It's about what kind of franchise the Browns want to be. Do they actually want to compete at the highest level? Or are they content being a kind of team where internal politics trumps performance? That's the crossroads they're standing at right now. And every day they keep Sanders sidelined, they're answering that question with the wrong answer. To make things worse, this drama isn't staying in-house. It's becoming the narrative. Every reporter covering Brown's camp is now locked into saga. Every headline is about the rift between Stefanski and Musgrave. Every tweet is questioning whether Sanders is being sabotaged. And yes, that word, sabotage, is making the rounds for a reason. Because when you have a young, talented QB who's doing everything right and still being overlooked, it stops being about performance. It starts looking intentional. And once that perception takes hold, good luck putting the genie back in the bottle. Players notice. Morale suffers. Trust erodes. The veterans on the team might not say it out loud, but they're watching, and they're asking themselves, if Shedeur Sanders can't get a fair shake, what does that mean for the rest of us? That's how locker rooms fracture. That's how chemistry dies before week one even kicks off. And what about the bigger picture? Let's say Stefanski continues to stonewall. Let's say Sanders rides a bench all season while Gabriel stumbles through mediocre reps. What message does that send to future prospects? To agents? To free agents thinking about coming to Cleveland? It says talent doesn't matter. That no matter how hard you work, no matter how well you play, you'll be stuck behind someone the coaching staff is just more comfortable with. That's not a football team. That's a closed system. And it's a recipe for stagnation. Musgrave clearly understands that. That's why he spoke up. Because at some point, someone has to draw a line between coaching and gatekeeping. And right now, Stefanski's approach is looking a whole lot like the latter. The fallout from all this isn't theoretical. It's already happening. Every day this drama drags out, the Browns' focus slips further from the actual goal, winning. And once that locker room divides, it's nearly impossible to stitch it back together. The organization can pretend it's business as usual. They can release vague statements about player development timelines and internal evaluations. But nobody's buying it. Not the fans, not the media, and definitely not the players. The Browns had a chance to show they were serious about turning a corner. Instead, they're fumbling a moment that could define their season, and maybe even their next 5. And here's the real kicker. Shedeur Sanders hasn't said a word. No complaints. No drama. Just work. That kind of poise from a rookie, that's rare. That's what you build around. Or at least it should be. But instead, the organization is stuck in an outdated mindset, afraid to shake up the established order, even if it means sacrificing progress. That fear is costing them more than just headlines. It's costing them credibility. And unless something changes fast, it's going to cost them games. So now all eyes are on Cleveland, on Stefanski, on Musgrave, on Sanders. The drama isn't just alive. It's accelerating. And unless the Browns are ready to face the consequences, this internal fire is going to turn into a full-blown inferno by mid-season. Let's be honest. Fans aren't just watching training camp drills anymore. They're watching a leadership test in real time. And the stakes couldn't be higher. If you got thoughts on this saga, and let's be real, how could you not? Drop them in the comments. Should Sanders be getting the reps? Is Musgrave out of line, or the only one willing to speak the truth? And what does this say about where the Browns are really headed? If you're here for more drama, more breakdowns, and more behind-the-scenes chaos from across the league, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Because this story, it's just getting started. Here's where things really get messy. Because the Browns, whether they realize it or not, have walked themselves right into a no-win situation. Kevin Stefanski can try to ride this out, pretend like it's just another quarterback development arc. But with every practice where Sanders stands on the sidelines while Gabriel takes top reps, the optics only get worse. And in the NFL, perception is reality. Let's be crystal clear. Shedeur Sanders isn't just any rookie. This isn't some mid-round flyer you tuck away for a few years and hope pans out. We're talking about a highly touted, heavily scouted, read the defense in his sleep type of quarterback. A guy who's been praised for his vision, his discipline, and let's not forget his leadership. The kind of player you build a team around. So when that kind of player walks into camp, puts his head down, shows up prepared, and still can't sniff the first team unit, it's not a rotation strategy. It's a statement. And unfortunately for Cleveland, it's the wrong one. Now look, we've seen quarterback controversies before. We've seen coaching staffs try to slow-roll rookies to ease them in or protect their confidence. That's nothing new. But this is something else. This is internal warfare spilling onto the grass. A QB coach breaking rank to defend a rookie? That doesn't happen unless something's gone seriously sideways behind the scenes. And let's talk about Bill Musgrave for a second. This isn't some hot-headed assistant looking for attention. Musgrave is a seasoned coach with a reputation for developing quarterbacks, real ones. The kind of guy who's seen every type of prospect walk through the door. So when he says Shedeur's ready, that carries weight. He didn't have to say anything. He could have played the company man, nodded along in meetings, and just coached whoever Stefanski told him to. But he didn't, because even Musgrave knows what's at stake here. He's not just defending a player. He's defending the principle that talent should matter. And if that principle doesn't apply in Cleveland, what exactly are they doing? What's even more stunning is how tone-deaf Stefanski has been throughout all of this. He hasn't addressed the growing media pressure, hasn't clarified his vision for Sanders, hasn't even acknowledged the obvious split in his own staff. And that silence, it's not making him look strong. It's making him look disconnected. Because whether he likes it or not, this isn't just an internal dispute anymore. The fan base is watching. The media is circling. And the locker room, they're paying very close attention. See, players talk. They see who's grinding, who's showing up early, who's leading the scout team, who's locked in at film review. And when that guy gets iced out for no apparent reason, it sends a ripple effect through the entire roster. It tells the team that no matter how hard you work, the hierarchy isn't moving. That talent won't necessarily get you promoted. And for a player, that's poison. You want to kill morale? That's how you do it. You can bet other young players on the roster are already second-guessing things. If Shedeur Sanders, of all people, can be held down by politics, where does that leave the rest of them? And more importantly, why should they trust this coaching staff to evaluate anyone fairly? That lack of trust? It's corrosive, and it goes deeper than just player morale. The entire structure of the Browns' leadership is under the microscope now. Stefanski might have thought this was a simple depth chart decision, but it's exposed something far bigger. A culture problem. One where safe decisions are rewarded, innovation is suppressed, and the loudest voice in the room isn't necessarily the smartest. You got Musgrave going rogue. You've got insiders leaking friction between coaches. You've got the media openly speculating about favoritism and sabotage. That's not noise. That's a warning sign. And the worst part? It's not going away. Unless the Browns make a move, a real one, this is going to hang over the team like a storm cloud all season long. Every incomplete pass from Gabriel, every offensive stall-out, every game where the Browns struggle to find rhythm, fans will point back to Sanders. Every single time. And they'll be right to. Because you can't stash a potential franchise quarterback on the bench, ignore your own QB coach, and expect people not to notice. This is the NFL, not a high school clique. Results matter. And so do decisions. And let's talk long-term consequences for a minute. Let's say this spirals. Let's say Musgrave gets fed up and walks. Let's say the locker room fractures. Let's say Sanders' confidence takes a hit from being mishandled before he ever gets a real shot. What happens then? Well, for starters, Stefanski's job is suddenly on life support. Because in this league, you don't get to fumble a talent like Shedeur Sanders and keep your credibility. Especially not in Cleveland, where quarterback failure has been a franchise's defining story for 2 decades. If Stefanski turns out to be the next coach who blew it with a future star, it won't just cost him the locker room. It'll cost him his legacy. And yeah, that's dramatic. But it's also real, because this could have been a turning point. The Browns had the rare opportunity to reset the narrative, to take a bold swing on a dynamic young quarterback. to prove that the franchise is finally capable of identifying and nurturing elite talent. Instead, they're stuck in the same old pattern, fearful of change, protective of pecking orders, and now publicly fractured. So what now? That's the million-dollar question. And the longer the organization tries to downplay this as routine competition, the more unhinged it all looks. They need to pick a direction, and fast. Either Stefanski swallows his pride, reevaluates the rep distribution, and gives Sanders a real shot, or the Browns risk detonating their own locker room before the season even starts. There is no middle ground left. The line has been drawn, and it was drawn by his own staff. Because whether Stefanski wants to admit it or not, Musgrave has already forced the issue. Once you go public like that, there's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. This isn't just a coaching disagreement anymore. It's a referendum on the entire organization's priorities. Do they want to win? Or do they want to protect the fragile egos of a coaching staff more afraid of being wrong than being bold? Because here's the thing, the lead doesn't wait. While Cleveland's leadership spirals into passive-aggressive silence, teams across the NFL are sharpening their offenses, testing their rookies, and building chemistry. Every day this drama continues is another lost day of real development. For Sanders, for the offense, and for the entire team. Time is ticking. And the Browns? They're wasting it. And let's be honest, fans are exhausted. They've lived through Johnny Manziel. They've endured the endless carousel of QBs who never panned out. They've watched the front office swing and miss for years. And now, when it finally feels like they might have a legitimate star in the making, the coaching staff can't get out of its own way? It's infuriating. It's baffling. And it's so Browns. The Browns might be hoping that people will just move on, that the headlines will fade, and the questions will stop. But this isn't just some off-season fluff piece or a random Twitter spat. This is a full-on crisis of credibility, playing out in front of a fan base that has seen too much to fall for the usual PR spin. Because when a quarterback coach, your own quarterback coach, goes public with his frustrations, that's not just noise. That's a fire alarm. That's someone on the inside waving a red flag and saying, hey, we're doing something really dumb here, and it's going to cost us. And guess what? It already is. The longer Shedeur Sanders stays buried on the depth chart, the more toxic this whole situation becomes. The locker room hears the whispers. The veterans see who's putting in the work. And when they start to believe that hard work doesn't actually matter, that's when the whole thing crumbles from the inside. You don't need a leak to know that trust is already breaking down. And at the center of it all is Kevin Stefanski, calm, calculated, and completely silent. He hasn't addressed Musgrave's comments. He hasn't acknowledged the split inside his own coaching room. And most importantly, he hasn't explained why Shedeur Sanders, one of the most exciting young quarterback prospects in the league, is barely sniffing meaningful reps. It's leadership theater, and Stefanski's playing the wrong role. Instead of stepping up and owning the moment, he's shrinking behind it. Instead of giving fans clarity, he's giving them canned phrases about evaluations and depth chart fluidity. But let's be honest, no one's buying it. Not when Musgrave is standing 10 feet away shouting that the emperor has no clothes. And not when fans can see what's happening. Because this isn't complicated. You've got one coach advocating for talent, for change, for future potential. And you got another clinging to routine, hierarchy, and comfort. One of them is coaching to win. The other is coaching not to lose. And the result? Total paralysis. Shedeur Sanders is stuck in limbo. Not because of performance, but because of politics. Because Stefanski doesn't want to disrupt the order. Because giving Sanders more reps might mean admitting that the original plan was wrong. And for a head coach under pressure, that's apparently too big a pill to swallow. But that fear is going to cost him. Because sooner or later, whether it's week 3 or week 10, someone's going to ask a question that Stefanski can't dodge anymore. Why didn't you give this kid a chance when it actually mattered? And when that question comes, the excuses won't hold. Not when reporters are already hinting at internal division. Not when media voices are openly questioning whether Sanders is being sidelined for reasons that have nothing to do with football. Not when even casual fans are starting to wonder if Cleveland is more interested in protecting egos than developing winners. This is no longer about just one player. It's about what kind of culture the Browns are building. Are they a team where coaches empower their players and trust their own staff? Or are they the kind of franchise that eats itself on the inside, where anyone who pushes back gets iced out and where talent takes a backseat to politics? Right now, it's looking like the latter. And that's a disaster waiting to happen. Because let's not forget, this isn't just about this season. This is about what comes next. About what kind of message you send to every rookie, every free agent, every player watching from the sidelines. It's about whether Cleveland is a place where you can grow, or a place where you get stuck behind someone just because they got here first. And yeah, sure, Stefanski might survive this, at least for now. The front office might pretend everything's fine, reshuffle the narrative, and try to outlast the headlines. But the damage is already done. The story is out there. The trust is cracked. The moment has passed. And the one person who could have changed everything, Shedeur Sanders, is still holding a clipboard, wondering what more he could possibly do to earn his shot. That's not just a missed opportunity. That's negligence. So if you're watching this unfold and thinking this can't be real, trust us. It is. This is the reality in Cleveland right now. A divided staff, a muffled QB controversy, and a young talent being sidelined while coaches scramble to protect a system that clearly isn't working. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Should Sanders be getting more reps? Is Musgrave the only one willing to say what everyone's thinking? And how long can Stefanski hold this team together before something truly breaks? Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video if you want more unfiltered breakdowns of the chaos unfolding behind the scenes. Because when it comes to the Browns, the drama never stays on the sidelines.